I would like to show some of the things I'm growing this summer in this video. And I'm here in the main garden area, so let's get started. Right here, let's just jump in. Got some cabbage here. I have two more over there. I actually originally had some red cabbage too, but I planted it too early and it didn't survive the cold back in March, but this green cabbage did. And this lavender plant here, right next to it, is actually, I think it's helping keep the bugs. I mean, there's still some bug damage on this cabbage, but the other cabbage actually have more holes and stuff in the leaves than this cabbage did, so I think this lavender is helping out quite a bit as far as companion planting goes and keeping the bugs off. Here I have some basil. Here I have some basil, and actually I do have some parsley right down here, but it's not really taking off like some of the other stuff is. Here is the basil. This is the first year I've been this is the first year I've grown basil, and it is I'm learning how to actually, like, if you can see in here, like right here for example, you'll see right here you'll see like there's two shoots coming out each side. You cut the stem off right above it and one stem becomes two stems. So that's one thing I'm learning about basil, which is kind of neat. Oh yeah, I have some nice fragrance on it coming off of it. Anyway, here is the cherry tomatoes, which is more or less spreading out and taking over everywhere. And give you a scale, like a sense of scale here. Here's my hand, and here's the cherry tomatoes. So there's none of them ripe on this one yet. There's the other cabbage, and it actually looks like it's ready to pick, or close to it. And this is something new I'm doing this year: ground cherries. To zoom in here, to get closer, you can see right here are the little fruits and these little papery husks. These are not ripe yet. The fruits are inside the little papery husks. And this one is, well, quite loaded. I also got two more over there. And I did have some celery right here. Obviously it's died. And I had another one right in here, but it died a few months ago. Why, I don't know. It must be something to do with the summertime is not good for celery. I'm not sure. Could be something to do with that. Here's some calendula, which I've never grown before. This is neon calendula. It's supposed to help keep bugs away, and it's a good companion plant, from what I understand. So that's something I'm trying. Here's another cherry tomato plant, which I did not plant. It actually came up from last year's seeds, which ended up on the ground. And it's growing everywhere as well. And here's some strawberries, which have been here for a couple years. They're not really producing very well. There's a few of them which are ripening, but they're not really producing very well in the middle of summer. They're ever bearing, but it being hot out, I think that might have something to do with it. So let's jump back over to this cherry tomato, which was another accidental one, which I didn't actually plant. It came up from last year's seed. And we have a few ripe ones here. Let's find some good ones here. This will work. Right here. And I could probably grab another one. There's 2 cherry tomatoes. And here's some kale. This kale here and the one right next to it here, they're actually doing really good this year. It's hot, it's the middle of summer, but they're actually growing quite well. This kale here, the soil ain't as good here or for that kale over there, so they might be somewhat lagging behind these other 2 because of that. Not really sure. There's the other cabbage. Right here, this was some chamomile, I'm not really sure how you say it, but it's basically dying. It's not doing good. It's not doing good at all. Here I have some weeds growing, but there is some parsley here that I planted. And you can see it right here. This is the parsley. There's the other basil, kale, and I'm trying to establish some peppermint right here. And it's actually doing pretty good. I'm waiting for it to spread out, and I want to make like a peppermint patch right here. And over here is some oregano. This whole spot right here used to be oregano, but I harvested it all, and it's starting to regrow. Some of it's starting to regrow. You can see right here some of the oregano. That's regrowing. Of course, it has a ground cherry, which seems to be taking over here, so we'll see how that goes. And this mulch has actually worked really well. I never thought about this until a couple years ago. Everyone seems to be using, most of the growers that I've seen on YouTube seem to be using mulch and wood chips and stuff to keep the soil covered for moisture retention and weed control. So I actually tried it and it works. It's not foolproof. The mulch, it's not foolproof, but it does greatly reduce the amount of weeds and makes it way easier to maintain. And it does help retain moisture. Now I do know I had an issue with finding good quality like pure cypress mulch, which I found some this year fortunately, but I ended up using cypress blend last year. And the cypress blend that I used was it had wood with nails in it. It had ground up OSB. It had pieces of wood with paint on it. And, you know, it's just really not what I would want to use around plants that I'm going to be eating. So I ended up, this year I actually found some pure cypress mulch, so I actually took all of this mulch, I actually replaced all of this mulch and put in some pure cypress mulch this year. So this is doing pretty good. And over here is what I made a pile out of the old mulch. And to show you how prolific or how prosperous these cherry tomatoes are, I had some seeds in the old mulch from that was there from last year, and here's, guess what, a cherry tomato plant growing right next to the mulch. So there's also, you can see some watermelon vines here with watermelons growing on them, like right here for example. And they seem to be, actually there's one there and one here. They are growing pretty much everywhere. I have tried pruning them back before, but to me it doesn't seem to really make a difference. You can let them grow everywhere, you can prune them back. It pretty much, to me, it's given the same results, so it might be something I play with in the future. Over here is one of my in-ground fig trees. It basically regrew from the ground this year. I tried to winter protect it and save the top, or at least as much of the top as I could, but it didn't work this past winter, and it regrew from the base, and it's probably, I would say, the tallest of the branches here is probably about, I'd say maybe 3 foot high. And in all 4 of these branches, these stems, they all have figs on them. This is a hardy Chicago, so maybe in another, I don't know, in another month or so, maybe I'll get some figs off of it. And here's a grapevine. Now this is not working well at all. I'm showing you this because maybe one of you have some ideas of what the problem is. I've thought about taking these grapes out, trying different varieties, but I pretty much have stopped pruning them because what's the point? Reason being, look at the leaves. Every year, these leaves will end up getting this fungus, spotty like stuff all over the leaves, and they pretty much start shriveling up. And this ain't cicada damage. We did have cicadas this year, and there probably is a little bit of cicada damage here, but if you just look at the leaves, it's not good at all. And now, fortunately, and this is the first, I actually have this many grapes this year on these vines. And to give you a sense of the scale, here's one of these cherry tomatoes, here's the grapes. I've never had this many grapes last this late into the season without shriveling up, turning black, and just falling off. So this is one of the vines I have here. Here's the other grapevine. So if anyone has any ideas of why they are, is it just the variety that's the problem? I'm not into using chemicals, so I have actually tried using neem oil on these before as like an organic option, and it didn't really seem to help anything. So if anyone has any ideas, let me know. Here are my blueberries. There's 2 plants here. You can see the cicada damage on these. Broken branches. Here especially. Probably, if I can get in here and show a good view, you can see all where they've slit and punched into the bark, the cicadas. And the harvest, it's really rare to see blueberries on the plant this late into the season. It usually doesn't happen. Here's a little one right here. The harvest was really poor this year. Obviously because of the cicadas. I did not get many at all. Had a few extra, over here I had a few extra parsley and ground cherries. So I didn't put mulch around them, I just had some extra plants, so I stuck them in the ground. Just so they wouldn't go to waste. It's just temporary, so that's why I didn't bother with mulch. Here is my bean arch. Have some in a little fencing piece on the other side, right next to it. This really didn't work that well this year overall. In certain areas it did, but I think that might have something to do, like on the other end. If I walk on over to the other end here. Over on this end, it seems to have done better. That might be because I actually did replace the soil probably a couple years ago with some better soil. And it seems to do better here, and I'm thinking that's probably why. Because right here, these are actually producing, there's a lot of leaf coverage here. There's beans here. They're coming on. I could probably try picking these. I've never actually, this variety, this is Cherokee Trail of Tears. I've never actually tried these beans as snap beans or green beans. But I have tried them as shell beans. They're a black bean and they're actually pretty good. Shell beans is where you, basically, if you don't know, it's where it dries out and you actually take the bean seeds inside and fix them in a pan like you would like soup beans, for example. And these beans do have nice pretty flowers, little blue, or not blue, but little pinkish purplish flowers. It's an heirloom, so that could be a little something to do with it. It could also be the soil. But you can see here how there's a lot of bare spots. The leaves, well, the leaves are not exactly picture perfect. They do have some holes in them and stuff, but overall I guess it ain't bad, but it's not exactly good either, the way this is turning out this year. Here's the other area. You can tell where the vines are growing good. They are growing good. I have all these vines here that have actually outgrown the fencing that I have up here for them to grow on. I do wonder if I was to get like a trellis, if I was to build like a 30 foot or 40 foot high trellis, if these things would actually climb all the way to the top of it. I'd have to get a large, long ladder to harvest my beans. That would be interesting. Okay, so let me take you back over here, actually over to another area. Here is the this right here this is rye stalks. I actually already harvested the seed heads off of it, and I just haven't came back and got the stalks yet, which make really great straw. And it is nice to grow your own grains. Yeah, you can see how these rye stalks make really great straw. I'll probably come back and get them here eventually. Now I already got I got a good decent harvest off of this rye as far as the seed heads go. The wheat over here, this is einkorn wheat. It didn't turn out so well. The wind blew it over, then it rained on it, then the birds came by because the seed heads were on the ground, and the birds started stripping all the grain off of it, and it just didn't turn out too well. So, but on the other hand, I at least got some good wheat straw here, which is a little bit smaller than the rye straw. it's not as thick and a little bit more usable in certain applications. So at least there's that. And whenever I was taking all this wheat and stuff out, I came across this plant here, this thorny little plant. I'm not sure what it is, but it has some berries growing on it. So I think I'll let it continue to grow, and I'll see what this turns into. It's an interesting looking little plant. Right here is my little miniature, I'm going to call it my little miniature sunchoke forest. And if you don't know what a sunchoke is, another name it has been known by is Jerusalem artichoke. Jerusalem artichoke is not from Jerusalem, and it's not actually an artichoke. It's actually a type of sunflower that makes edible tubers. So that means basically, if you think of like potatoes where you dig them out of the ground, in this case, these edible tubers on these sunflowers, these sunchokes, you dig them out of the ground the same way. And you can cook them or eat them raw or whatever. And they're actually out competing the weeds, if you notice. These things really are hardy growers here in Ohio, Zone 6B. They have a little white milky substance on them. I'm not sure what that is, but the ants seem to like them. But anyway, late summer, early fall, they'll get little tiny yellow flowers on them, and they look pretty nice. Here is my sorghum and corn. Right here is my Martin Milo dwarf sorghum. I actually grew this last year, and it was actually pretty good. I did have one issue with all this sorghum. The birds did not want to leave it alone. They would come by and start stripping the sorghum grain off the seed heads. So that was a problem. The Martin Milo, I actually got enough of it to actually try it out, and it was pretty good. If I go on back here, there's a variety right here which was labeled popping sorghum. It's more of a white sorghum. And I didn't get to try it out because, well, the birds basically stripped the seed heads on it, like way worse than the Martin Milo. And over on this end of the row was, I forget its name, but it was a type of sugar sorghum where you like cut the stalks down and press the sap out of it and make a sweetener out of it. But I never actually got to try its grain out either because the birds stripped it. Of course, some sorghum they say is not really good for eating. Other sorghum is. So I'd be interested to actually get to try this out and see these other two varieties here and see how good they are for eating. And of course, in front here is my corn. This is an heirloom corn. It never really grew that high last year, but this year, with all of the rain, it's actually growing quite high. I would say this is probably, some of this is probably maybe 8 feet high up to the top. Last year didn't get this tall, but of course this year though we had a lot of rain. And of course, as someone who is a fig grower like myself, You really don't want too much rain, especially in the summer, but it does have the side effect of giving me some nice tall corn. So, have ears coming on. And let's not forget my squash here. It looks like it's wilting in the heat of the day here. Well, I know when, like in the evenings, it will actually perk back up, these leaves will. I'm not sure if this black matting stuff has something to do with it or not, but that's what I've tried. That's what I used, that's what I put down years ago, and it seemed to help really control weeds and stuff. I thought about just taking it out and just putting mulch in. This area here is outside the fenced area, and I'm trying to see what I can plant out here without the deer and rabbits destroying it. Right here is a cherry tomato plant, and it's been here for a few days and it's still fine. Over here is a ground cherry that's been here for a few days and it's still fine. Now these muskmelons and pumpkins have been here for maybe a month now, and they're not really growing that well. I do know the soil out in this area is not very good, so perhaps that's part of the reason. But I can say that nothing's really bothering them yet, so that's a good sign. Anyway, if anyone has any thoughts or suggestions, feel free to let me know in the comments. And thanks for watching.